It is 6:27 p.m. We have a quorum and this meeting has been duly posted. Good evening and welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Dallas Independent School District Board of Trustees. Please stand and join us for a moment of silence and remain standing. For the Pledge of Allegiance, which today, go ahead. Trustee Mitchell will introduce some guests we have today.
Okay, today we will be led in the pledge by scouts from PAC, was it 862? From East Dallas.
Will the audience please rise? Color Guard attention. Color Guard advance. Color Guard, please halt. Post the colors. Scout salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. 2.
Please join me in the Texas Pledge. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. 2. Color Guard, return to post. Color Guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Just ask you now. All right, just want to ask everybody to give PAC 862 one more round of applause. And thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you again. Trustees present, starting on your left and my right, are Trustee Foreman, Trustee Mackey, Trustee Flores, Trustee Mitch K, Trustee Garcia, Trustee Solis, Trustee Johnson, Trustee Marshall. Our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Michael Hinojosa, joins us, and I'm Justin Henry, Board President. Trustee Flores, do you mind?
Si hay alguien que necesita los servicios de un intérprete, aquí el joven les puede ayudar con el equipo. Gracias.
At this time, I would like to recognize any elected officials or public officials in the audience. I don't see any. Does anyone else? Okay. Trustees, there are no recognitions tonight. Our agenda now calls for the public forum segment of our meeting. We'll begin with speakers to agenda items, followed by speakers to non-agenda items. To ensure that this meeting is held in an orderly manner, I am asking speakers to please refrain from using individual names and to address the board and not individual trustees. Ms. Messina, will you call the names of the speakers?
Speakers, you will have 3 minutes to speak. When you arrive at the microphone, please state your name and address. Our first speaker is Bill Betson, followed by George Rangel.
Howdy, Bill Betson, 6717 Cliffwood, Dallas 75237. President Henry, Dr. Hinojosa, and Honorable Board. What I am about to say can be found online at dallasisd.us. It has all the stuff I've been saying for months, but on top is today's statement. Unfortunately, your audience is relatively empty today because you canceled the plans for 1882. And of course, that was very wise. I think you made the right decision. But I'm to talk about the efforts regarding 1882 that were not well documented. Y'all very frequently accept plans from DISD administration that are not supported by planning documents. In other words, that describe what is happening, that describe why you're doing it, when you're going to do it, what it's going to cost, what the risks are, and what the benefits are going to be for our children. Why are you not requiring such a basic planning document be attached to the agenda item regarding every major change you want to do? That is my degree, is in planning. Often when you go through the planning process, you realize while you're going through the planning process that this is not a good plan. The plan should have links to all of the data supporting what you're saying. If you did that, you would probably have fewer people like me standing up here asking irrelevant questions or making irrelevant comments. You need to do all you can do to well inform your public about the plans you're wanting to present to the trustees and that you want to either pass or fail depending on whatever you find due to following public comment. So please start requiring that administration present you with planning documents, especially when the change is going to be a major change. They could put, it would help their presentations. I know when they're talking to you, they only have a few minutes. If they had a 20-page document in the attachment to back them up, it would make their job much easier. I know that's the way I worked. I would always have a backup document that was available to everybody I was presenting to. That's what you need here, because you have too much work to do in the limited time of this meeting. Thank you, and thank you for the work you do.
George Rangel, followed by Elsa Gomez. Elsa Gomez, followed by Angela Burke.
Hola, mi nombre es Elsa Gómez. Mi dirección es 2829 Peavy Road, Dallas, Texas. El código postal es 75228. Yo soy una mamá con un niño en Larry Smith. Mi hijo tiene autismo.
Ms. Gomez, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's rare. Could you speak just a little louder, please?
Okay. Yo soy una mamá con un niño en Larry Smith. Mi hijo tiene autismo. Él está en segundo grado. Mi preocupación es el aprendizaje de él. Por lo que está pasando con la maestra. Mi hijo está en un salón de educación regular, con apoyo de educación especial. El lunes pasado fui a la junta de 6 semanas para ver el progreso de mi hijo y la maestra me dijo que solo podía calificar con una calificación de 70. Mi pregunta es, si la maestra está entrenada para trabajar con niños especiales y qué tengo que hacer para que mi hijo reciba una mejor educación, una educación de calidad. He notado que no saben trabajar con él, con el comportamiento de él y el aprendizaje. ¿En dónde tengo que llevar a mi hijo para que lo eduquen o para que hagan algo con él, con el comportamiento de él? Mi hijo está muy afectado y yo también. Si pueden hacer algo, por favor, porque pues me preocupa la verdad lo que esté pasando con mi hijo. El día de hoy me llamaron todo el día para arreglar el problema y para evitar que yo viniera a esta junta. Si pueden ayudarme con eso, por favor. Gracias.
Angela Burke, followed by Bruce Copeland.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. My name is Angela Burke, 907 Rock Creek Drive, Oakleaf, 75154. I'm a distinguished teacher at Dallas Environmental Science Academy, and this year the state accountability ratings came out. showing that DESO is ranked the #1 middle school in Dallas ISD, but the building leaves much to be desired. While the issues I'm going to discuss today about our building may not be directly within your sphere of influence, the steps leading up to why I'm here today should be a cautionary tale for future decisions the board makes. 30 months ago, when our campus first heard about the proposed change to demolish DESA in order to make room for the new Pinkston, the community was livid. To quell that frustration, we were told by a trustee I wish I could hold accountable that we would receive a new building. That new building turned into a renovated elementary school with additions, which turned into new science rooms, and we'll throw in a fence and a functioning parking lot. When my students and I packed up my classroom 28 months ago, little did we know of the headache that would await our campus. The first year wasn't bad, and although the campus was smaller than our needs would require, we generally knew what to expect. Then came the renovation orders, leading to almost a third of our teachers at our campus being displaced and moving a second time in as many years. December 2018, we were told the labs were ready, so my students and I packed up my classroom a third time and moved the day after winter break, January 19. The labs were not ready, as I've chronicled in the addendum you've received, showing everything from safety hazards to construction incompetencies. I implore you to look over the evidence I provided from my room as a case study, or just come visit anytime. This entire process has been more frustrating than I can put in words, and quite frankly has been unacceptable. The decision the board made 2.5 years ago to relocate DESA was beyond poorly planned. Our school has been a construction zone since then. Like, people have walked into my classroom with hard hats on, and I'm like, do you have an extra one? This board hasn't even voted to approve the contract to build Pinkston. To my knowledge, that was pulled from last board meeting. Our old site location has been sitting as an empty field the last year and a half. Would it not have made more sense to fully renovate Earhart while students remained at the Greenleaf campus, unaffected by daily inconveniences of construction, so that we move to a completed, asbestos-free building? When I walk in my classroom every day and I don't know what to expect because I don't know if the construction crew has come overnight, this causes me anxiety. It wastes valuable planning time when I must move my room around weekly to accommodate construction that frankly should have been done 2 years ago. Beyond that, students come to school expecting consistency, and this process has been anything but, apart from consistently a letdown. Furthermore, the most irritating issue was the lack of teacher voice, and I'm not aware of any teacher who was asked to give input on this project. I realize construction and architecture are not my wheelhouse, but I think I might know a little bit more about what a classroom needs and how it would best function than someone who's never taught. Never mind the fact that brand new multi-million-dollar renovated science labs at the previous DESA building were demolished, and ignoring that we are now in a building that does not allow for growth.
Thank you.
There doesn't seem to have been any follow-through from the board or administration to ensure a safe or comfortable learning environment. All I ask is for you to consider your votes.
Thank you.
Bruce Copeland, followed by Nancy Rodriguez. Nancy Rodriguez.
Nancy Rodriguez, 6725 Bobolink Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75214. Trustees, I'm here to speak to you tonight about uniforms. As you know, DISD has a uniform policy for elementary and middle schools that specifies very simple, affordable uniforms for students. I fully support the district's use of these standard uniforms. They reduce distractions around kids' fashion choices, blur social distinctions between affluent kids and those who are less fortunate, and eliminate the need for teachers and principals to make judgment calls about whether this or that clothing choice is acceptable. The uniforms my own 2 kids wore when they attended Lakewood complied with this policy, and they were great. They looked good, and they were easy on my budget. I could get pants or jumpers at Target or Walmart each year for around $8, and the shirts for maybe $6 more. They're so cheap that most parents, even those with very limited resources, can provide them for their kids and take pride in having done so. But the reality is there remain some families who cannot afford even that. Currently, district policy requires that schools provide needy kids precisely 1 free uniform per year. Trustees, I don't know how many of you have young kids, but those of you who do surely know that 1 set of clothing for a child to wear day in and day out for an entire year is simply not enough. Kids are hard on their clothes. They fall down on the playground and tear them. They spill things on them. They lose them, and invariably, the kids grow. Needy parents end up with no choice but to send their kids to school in dirty, torn, threadbare clothes. Imagine the humiliation of an adolescent child with all the unavoidable insecurities that come with that stage of life, who has to attend school in a stained, holey uniform that is 3 sizes too small. Such a situation obviates all the benefits that should accrue from the uniform policy. The child is embarrassed, distracted, and inevitably stigmatized as a have-not among her more fortunate peers. This problem is only exacerbated in some of our choice and magnet schools, which have adopted custom uniform options that involve pricey plaids or blazers. My own daughter's school is currently considering an option that would place the cost of a full uniform over $100, many multiples of the cost of a standard uniform. This creates a stark visual divide between affluent kids who can afford these fashionable options and the children of working-class parents who are limited to the standard uniform. It creates an obvious distinction between the haves and the have-nots that thoroughly counters the benefits of the uniform policy. So I'm here to ask you, please revise the current uniform policy to make the provision of uniforms to needy kids more generous. One set of clothing to last a year just isn't enough. I challenge you, trustees, to wear the same clothes every day for an entire year. Heck, do it for a week and see how you feel. See how your self-image suffers. See how it affects your ability to perform and the way you relate to your peers. And secondly, trustees, I ask you to establish some reasonable guidelines for the optional uniform choices that schools can adopt. While I think it's great that our transformation schools be able to make minor uniform changes to give their students a sense of distinction and uniqueness, I think that when
Thank
the
you,
cost
Ms.
of those
Ms.
options
Rodriguez, your
approaches
time
10
has
times the
expired.
price of the standard
Thank you.
uniforms, things have gotten
Elsa
out of hand.
Gomez? Will the interpreter for Elsa Gomez be speaking on her behalf? Thank you.
Hola.
Hello.
Hola, mi nombre es Elsa Gómez.
Hello, my name is Elsa Gomez.
Mi dirección es 2829 PB Road.
My address is 2829
PB Road,
Beatty Road,
Dallas, Texas,
Dallas, Texas,
75228.
75228.
Soy una mamá con un niño en Larry Smith.
I am a mother with a son at Larry G. Smith.
Mi hijo tiene autismo.
My son has autism.
Mi hijo está en segundo grado.
He is in second grade.
Mi preocupación es el aprendizaje de mi hijo
My worry is his learning
por lo que está pasando con la maestra de mi hijo.
because of what is happening with his teacher.
Mi hijo está en un salón de educación regular
My son is in a general education classroom
con apoyo de educación especial.
with special ed support.
El lunes pasado
Last Monday,
fui a la junta de las 6 semanas
I went to the 6-week meeting
para ver el progreso de mi hijo
to see his progress.
y la maestra me dijo que solamente lo podía calificar con una calificación de 70.
And his teacher told me that she could only give him a grade of a 70.
Mi pregunta es si la maestra está entrenada para trabajar con niños especiales
My question is if this teacher is trained to work with special needs children.
y qué tengo que hacer yo para que mi hijo reciba una mejor educación.
And what I have to do to reassure that my son gets the right education.
¿O qué es lo que tengo que hacer para que él esté mejor?
Or what do I have to do so that he can be in a better situation?
Él necesita una educación de calidad,
He needs quality education.
una educación mejor porque a él está afectando y a mí también.
He needs a better education because it's not only affecting him, but it's also affecting me.
He notado que a él le está afectando,
I've noticed that it's affecting him.
su comportamiento lo está cambiando y también pues necesito saber si les pueden ayudarlo a él con más con su aprendizaje de él.
In his behavior, and I need to know if there's any other help that he can get for his learning.
¿A dónde tengo que llevar a mi hijo para su educación?
Where do I need to take my child for his education?
Para su deshabilidad de él.
For his disability.
Todo esto le está afectando su comportamiento.
All of this is affecting his behavior.
Toda esta semana también, bueno, todos estos días, yo desde el lunes,
In all of these days, since Monday,
antes de yo venir para acá,
before coming here,
el día de hoy me estuvieron llamando todo el día
even today they were calling me all day
para evitar que yo viniera a esta junta.
to avoid or to keep me from coming to this meeting.
Si me pueden ayudar, por favor, con eso, porque es la educación de mi hijo y la verdad me preocupa mucho.
If you could help me with that, because we're talking about the education of my child and it really worries me.
Okay. Gracias.
Thank you.
President Henry, this concludes our speakers.
Thank you. We're now moving on to reports, beginning with the superintendent's report.
As Mr. President, members of the board, 3 brief items to report on. Last week, we were very pleased to have Principal for a Day, the 20th anniversary. An item that was started by our staff 20 years ago has turned out to be a phenomenal program. We had principal participation for a day at over 200 campuses. Many community leaders participated, and then just about everybody showed up at the reception afterwards, which was a great celebration for the school district. Also, I want to announce that our annual Discover Dallas ISD Fair takes place Saturday, November the 2nd at Adamson High School from 9 to 1 p.m. The event has been done annually for several years now and has really helped us in dealing with market share. And the district staff has done a great job recently in our United Way employee giving campaign, and that kickoff starts October 25th. Our goal this year is $190,000, and that's improved significantly over the last several years. So I'm very proud of our staff members who are giving back to people less fortunate than them. That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent House. Board of Trustees, are there any committee reports?
Yes, President Henry.
Trustee Flores.
The Dallas Independent School District Audit Committee met September 27, 2019 at 2 p.m. The agenda, attachments, and video of the meeting are available for viewing on the district website. Following is a summary of the meetings. The committee approved the prior meetings minutes. We received reports from CFO Dwayne Thompson on the district financial condition, the fiscal year 2018-19 Audit Committee annual report, internal audit investigations update, and audit committee follow-up. After a brief closed session, we went back into open session and approved all of the items before the committee on a single vote. That is the report from the audit committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Flores. We're going to begin with trustee reports, starting with Trustee Foreman.
I'd like to start out with a message of condolence for former Dallas ISD trustee Mary Rutledge on the loss of her husband, James W. Rutledge. The Board of Trustees notes the passing of James W. Rutledge, husband of former Dallas ISD trustee Mary Rutledge. Mrs. Rutledge served on the board from 1981 to 1991, including 2 terms as board president from 1987 to 1991. The couple were married more than 50 years. The board wishes to express our sincere condolences to Mrs. Rutledge and her family in their time of loss. A memorial service for Mr. Rutledge will be held Saturday, October 19th at 3 p.m. at Cliff Temple Baptist Church on Sunset Avenue here in Oak Cliff, Dallas. Thank you. And then I'd just like to highlight a unique opportunity that 8th grade students at D.A. Hulsey STEAM Middle School are participating in called The Sun is All We Need. This is a year-long project where students will engage in building the ultimate solar-powered car. The car will not only need to be fast, but also cost-efficient and affordable to create. This is an innovative project that will help our students think both critically and creatively. And I love seeing this type of interactive learning in our classrooms. Thank you very much.
All right, in District 7, we'd like to give a shout out to the 25 campuses that hosted community leaders as guest principals for Principal for a Day. I know that's a program that's incredibly successful, and it was fun to see so many people out at schools experiencing what happens on a campus on a daily basis. As Hispanic Heritage Month comes to a close, I'd like to recognize Miss Longoria Huggins of Sunset High School and Miss Vargas Garcia of W.E. Griner for their years of work in promoting multiculturalism in Dallas ISD through baile folklorico, dance, and mariachi music. Also like to shout out the young mariachi students from L.V. Stockard Middle School who had an opportunity to join the celebration as they performed at district headquarters last week, thanks to their teacher, Miss Poquette Drews, and the Racial Equity Office. And finally, Winnetka Elementary School on Friday, November 1st will be hosting its 80th anniversary school fair. So anyone that's in the area that wants to come out, we invite you to Winnetka Elementary to celebrate with our community.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Ellisor Vision Foundation for providing free eyeglasses to nearly 60 students at Jerry Junkins Elementary as part of World Sight Day. We sometimes take for granted the impact of this type of support has on students, not only academically, but personally as well. So thank you very much to the Ellisor Vision Foundation. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I'm tremendously proud of the TJ student athletes who boldly took a stand and pledged to stop domestic violence. And the Marsh Leadership Cadet Corps Color Guard had the honor of presenting the colors at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the city's new Holocaust and Human Rights Museum in downtown Dallas. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'd like to give the District 3 report. The students at Bryan Adams High School recently had the opportunity to participate in mental health education presented by the National Alliance on Mental Illness. The teens focused on eliminating the stigma of mental health and left the presentation with strategies to recognize and help others who may be dealing with mental health issues. Congratulations to Lee McShann and Bales Elementary Schools for being recipients of Innovation Engine grants worth $50,000 each to be used for exploring and implementing innovative education models. McShann will explore a STEAM model, and Bales is looking at a leadership model. I also want to thank all of the business and community leaders who gave their time to be Principal for a Day in District 3 schools. I would name each of you, but fortunately it's a long, long list. Your support is very much appreciated by our students and our schools. And again, I'd like to thank PAC 862 for coming out tonight and presenting the flags and the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mitchke. I'll go ahead and do mine. We can go to Trustee Garcia. So I want to start with saying congratulations to the following District 9 first place winners in their campus contest for the annual Foley Gardier MLK Junior Oratory Competition. We've had Micah Wilson, who's a fourth grader at Paul L. Dunbar Learning Center, Amy Esquivel, who's a fifth grader at Urban Park Elementary, and Kayla Combs, a fifth grader at Charles Rice Learning Center, and Colin Harris, who's a fifth grader at J.P. Starks Math, Science, and Technology Vanguard. Kudos to these students and their faculty sponsors. We're waiting for their speeches. We are awaiting their speeches on the topic, what would Dr. King's vision be for America in 2020? The semifinals of the event are set for Tuesday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. at Alex Spence Middle School. I also want to say we owe a debt of gratitude to outstanding teachers who go the extra mile for students. 5 District 9 instructional champions applied for and received Junior League grants for innovative teaching to fund special classroom learning opportunities. The campuses so recognized include Ann Richards Steam Middle School, Keesick Elementary School, City Lab High School, Lane Senior Middle School, and J.P. Starks Math, Science, and Technology Vanguard. Next, I would like to say we're grateful to Sprint's 1 Million Project Foundation for funding Chromebooks and Wi-Fi hotspots for the students at the great James Madison High School and Lincoln High School. A total of 6 district schools shared in the $4.5 million technology donation supporting the district's one-to-one technology rollout. Also, I want to highlight what happened at Booker T. Washington. They finally were able to cut the ribbon on their production studio. The students have a new tool to use to advance their performing arts career. It's a new state-of-the-art recording and production studio and is now available to students thanks in part to a fundraising campaign by the school's advisory board and the Crystal Charity Ball that raised over $1.7 million to fund the new studio. If you do have an opportunity, it's a phenomenal studio to look at, and the kids are already creating music there. And I'll just echo my colleagues' sentiments for all the volunteers and supporters and other folks that came out to support our Principal for a Day event, to see what it's like to walk in the shoes of our principals doing what is very important and very difficult work. And that concludes the District 9 report.
All right, for District 4, Seagoville Elementary School won the first place for Best Float during the annual Seago Fest Parade earlier this month. Congratulations to those students, staff, and parents. It was also a great pleasure to serve as your Grand Marshal for the 2019 Seago Fest Parade. I want to thank Chipotle Mesquite for holding a fundraiser for the School for the Talented and Gifted in Pleasant Grove recently. It's incredibly encouraging to have partners who step up to help our schools in any way they can. And also, continuing on with Principal for a Day, but Miss Retta Andrew Bowers, Texas State Representative for District 113, was among the business and community leaders who came out to our District 4 schools. Special thanks to those who stepped up to encourage our students and took the time out of their very busy schedules to see what it's like to be in DISD, one of the biggest seats in DISD for a day. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to congratulate Orrin M. Roberts Elementary School because they are one of the schools to receive the Innovation Engine Grant Program that they intend on using to provide seed money to help explore and implement a blended learning education model at the school. Also, kudos to Esperanza Hope Medrano Elementary because they were featured on the Las Mejores Escuelas de Dallas ISD, which is Best Schools in Dallas, Facebook video series showcasing top-performing neighborhood schools in the district. I'd also like to share a thank you to the many amazing Principal for a Day participants in District 8. We had a great showing of community volunteers that decided to spend time in District 8. And a special shout out to Champ, the Dallas Mavericks mascot, who was at Cesar Chavez Learning Center, where the kids were very excited to have him on campus. Unfortunately, he uttered no words and tried to act out what it's like to be a principal, and I don't think he stayed for that long. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Shout out to the baddest bands in the land in District 5. Roosevelt High School Mustang Marching Band earned second place at the Bands United Premier Battle of the Bands. They also performed in the State Fair of Texas Twilight Parade and will be the special guest band at TSU versus Southern football game at the Cotton Bowl. South Oak Cliff New Soul of the South Band took first place honors at the 2019 Huntington Band Battle of the Bands in Shreveport, Louisiana. Also, Wilma Hutchins High School Marching Eagles earned first place in the Williams Chicken Extreme Battle of the Bands, and they had an amazing guest performance during the Grambling versus Prairie View State Fair Classic football game.
Trustee Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll give the District 2 report. First, congratulations to North Dallas High School, which received a $50,000 grant for design thinking. The design thinking approach is being used in lessons by North Dallas High School teachers who must surrender some of their authority to students. For instance, metal detectors at North Dallas High School have been decorated with images of the Bulldog School mascot and Looney Tunes characters in honor of original Bugs Bunny artist Tex Avery, who was a graduate of North Dallas High School. It's a great idea. Also on September 26th, North Dallas High School's very own Samar Teneo was chosen to represent the school, council, and community at this year's Washington Youth Leadership Seminar. She has joined other young leaders from across the nation and who are focusing on leadership training, advocating for the U.S. Census, and meeting with representatives. So nice work there. Congrats to the Woodrow cross-country teams that did quite well at the Conrad Classic meet. The varsity girls team won first place, the varsity boys team won second place, and the JV girls team won fourth place. Congrats all around. On September 28th, the North Dallas High School football players, cheerleaders, and Vikingettes visited Ben Milam Elementary to speak to the kids and have a fun time with the future Bulldogs class of 2027. I love to see that cross-feeder pattern cooperation. On September 28th, the Woodrow Wildcats swim team swimathon was a huge success. 28 members of the swim family swam either 200 laps or swam for 2 hours straight for pledge donations. It sounds exhausting to me, but great job to all of them. On September 20th, Ms. Huffman at Ben Milam Elementary School was chosen to be Teacher of the Year, so congrats to you, Mrs. Huffman. Also want to give a shout out to the Woodrow men's soccer team that held a very successful fundraiser recently. They did a car wash. It was very well attended. And want to congratulate J.L. Long Middle School on their 23rd annual long run. It's their the school's only fundraiser that they hold each year, and it was a very successful turnout. Also, a couple of invitations. I want to invite everyone to come to the Dandy Rogers Fall Carnival this Saturday. There will be a haunted house, food and drinks, and a fortune teller, and much more. Also, KB Polk is hosting their Trunk or Treat Carnival for the entire family on Friday, October 25th from 5:30 to 6:30. And Woodrow Wilson will be celebrating its 90-year anniversary and ribbon-cutting ceremony on October 26th, and we hope to see generations of Wildcats over that weekend event. And lastly, much like my colleagues, I just want to thank both the Dallas Regional Chamber and all of the folks that came out to volunteer for Principal for a Day. Thanks very much. That concludes the District 2 report.
Thank you, Trustee Marshall. I wanted to add one thing, or Trustee Solis can. I don't want to steal his shot, but he has an educator in his district who was awarded the top educator in the country from the Council of Great City Schools. His name is Eric Hale, and he's a teacher at Burnett Elementary School. So I just wanted to acknowledge his great achievement, and he should be recognized, I think, next week at the conference. And that concludes our trustee reports. We're going to move on to the approval of minutes. Trustees, the following minutes have been submitted for approval. Called board meeting September 26, 2019. Public hearing September 26, 2019. Board meeting September 26, 2019. Audit committee September 27th, 2019. Called board meeting October 3rd, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Has been moved. Seconded and moved. Is there any discussion or any corrections? No. Trustees, will you please cast your vote?
Motion passes 9-0.
Thank you. We're now moving to the consent agenda items. We have consent agenda items 6.01 through 6.18 as amended. The following items have been pulled for a separate vote: 6.03 and 6.18. Consent items 6.07 and 6.15 have been pulled completely from the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve consent agenda items 6.01 through 6.18 as amended. There's no debate on consent agenda items. Trustees, will you please cast your votes?
Trustee Foreman.
I need to make a correction. It was agenda item 6.03 and 6.15 that were pulled, not 6.18.
Motion passes 9-0.
Our next item is item 7.02. Consider and take possible action to authorize, negotiate, and enter into a contract with Heartland Payment Systems, LLC, doing business as Heartland School Solutions, for the purchase of software, hardware, and maintenance support not to exceed $1.5 million over 5 years. General operating bonds, special revenue funds. Consent item 6.18 pulled by Trustee Joyce Foreman and myself. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize, negotiate, and enter into contract with Heartland Payment Systems, LLC, doing business as Heartland School Solutions, for the purchase of software, hardware, and maintenance support not to exceed $1.5 million over 5 years. Considered in item 6.18 pulled by myself and Trustee Foreman. Trustees, is there discussion?
Yes.
Trustee Foreman and then Marshall.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just for seconding.
No. Trustee Foreman.
Hello. So I have just a couple of questions. And I want to start out with, I looked at the previous system that you had, and over a 5-year period, you spent $3.6 million. And we're saying that this is a not to exceed $1.5 million. Can you tell me what the difference is in terms of those systems and why it's less expensive? And the reason I'm asking that question is too often you come back to the board and ask for additional dollars.
Yes, ma'am. This is what we're requesting approval for is the same system that was installed 3 years ago. And at that time, since it was a new system to the district, it required a lot of new equipment to go in. Okay. So that equipment is already in place, and that's why this is so much less.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Are there any questions? Trustees, will you please cast your votes?
Trustee Mitchke?
Yeah, I don't have a screen up.
Yes? Okay. Can't do that.
Happy anniversary.
I put not present. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Voted.
Yes. I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Motion passes 9-0.
This concludes our action items. It is 7:39 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
I vote yes.